All right, boys, it's time.
Joining me now is Hasan Piker. He is part of the TYT network. He does Breakdown and now a new show, Agitprop. Hasan, welcome. And listen, you're on because you said some things that a lot of people, including myself, find very offensive. You did not say it on the Young Turks network. You said it on your own Twitch channel.
Be
so
very
we're going to
careful.
take them one at a time and have a conversation about it. In the past, when conservatives have said offensive things, I have said that they should keep their job and we should have a conversation about it. I said it about Megyn Kelly, Don Imus, and Rush Limbaugh.
Oh, he's saving him.
And so here we are. I'm living up to what I said about conservatives and progressives. We're having a conversation. So you said America deserved 9/11. Did you mean that?
No, obviously not, especially considering the fact that while that is a very viral quote that is going around currently, if those people were at least even remotely charitable or cared about the actual truth of what I was talking about, they would understand that within context, I was simply referencing the fact that all of the foreign policy decisions and our arming of insurgent groups in the region and our efforts in destabilizing the Middle East have a direct consequence, a boomerang effect, rather, if you will, in causing 9/11. Of course, every part of what I advocate for is against violence. I abhor violence. I think it's awful. And as a matter of fact, I was very frustrated with the fact that Dan Crenshaw, a person who 4 times voted nay on bills that would stop arming Saudi Arabia. He voted no 4 times on those bills. It would turn around and talk about the necessity for endless violence, and that this simply was happening because these people. This simply was happening because these people just hated us. They hated us because they hate us. I'm paraphrasing, but I thought that was awful. I thought that was horrific, and in that moment, I thought, at the very least, I was saying that you can draw a direct line, basically, that it was a consequence of all of the things that we have done in the region. This is not a controversial thing to say, which is precisely why I followed up by saying, why are you guys getting upset at me? There's a live chat. There's a back and forth conversation on Twitch. For those of you who are unfamiliar, said, why are you getting upset at me? Nothing I'm saying is controversial, implying that I didn't even understand immediately why what I was saying was so outside of the bounds of reason, considering that Hillary Clinton has had a similar and correct opinion on this, talking about how we did fund Al-Qaeda and Noam Chomsky and numerous other academics on both sides of the political spectrum.
So when you're talking about one of the causes of 9/11 being American foreign policy, it's not just Chomsky. Donald Trump has said
Donald Trump has said that as well.
I understand that. I understand that. But you understand now, and not just now, but you understood fairly soon after you said.
Just so you know, you can go a lot harder against commies in your subreddit. Getting abused by a brutal and unapologetic dictator is how commies feel at home.
Nice, thanks, bud.
That saying Americans deserve 9/11 is a completely different statement and one that's wrong.
No, I didn't say Americans deserve 9/11. I said America deserves 9/11.
Right, but that's
and
still
in that
wrong.
Moment, well, maybe you can chalk it up to English being my second language or whatever you want to chalk it up to.
Okay, he has to never. Okay, listen, I love Hasan, okay, but there are a few things that he needs to never say again, okay? One, he needs to stop pretending he's poor, okay? He's almost a top 1%er when it comes to income, okay? So that whole idea of like being poor and being like the little streamer, blah, 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 that needs to stop immediately. 1. 2, this ESL take, this English second language take, no, come on. This is like comically dumb, okay? This is not a good take. Don't do this.
Obviously, if I followed that statement up immediately with, well, we're still continuing to fund the nation state responsible for this, and we act like they are our greatest allies, when that kind of arms sale
I understand the overall policy point you're making, Hasan, but saying it that way is clearly wrong.
Yes.
Because it leaves people the impression that you.
I should have used more precise and better use of the language there. It's messed up that I would even give the opportunity to the right.
Because I think you are the man.
Try to morally grandstand on an issue like this when they are 100% responsible for all of the bloodshed that has been caused. Even some other outlets in the mainstream media are also culpable in this circumstance. Look, 3,000 people died. And that's terrible. That is a horrific event. I've covered this issue numerous times. I've covered the way that media has politicized it and the way that politicians have politicized this issue numerous times. There's an article I wrote 2 years ago on 9/11 on how
I will donate $50 to Hasan's stream tonight if he cuts off Jank when he tries to interrupt him and be like, wait a second, and this is crucial. I'm sorry.
Post that you guys can go check out if you want to understand exactly what I mean. These are the same people that justified an illegal war in Iraq. These are the same people that normalized this same kind of violence. And that's precisely my point, is that especially a congressperson who suffered, like who sacrificed personally and is now using that sacrifice to in a very civil fashion, albeit, justify endless warfare is abhorrent to me. I know that I was inappropriate. I understand that, which is precisely why I took action immediately. As soon as I realized, like, oh, this is going to be misconstrued. I don't want this to be weaponized. I don't want this to be. I don't want this to offend people. I immediately stopped the stream.
I don't care that he said it, but the news articles are a bad look for the left.
I deleted the VOD, the video on demand, and I continued after that to.
So you deleted it before any right winger wrote an article about it or not?
No, of course. Because look, I talk about Nazis, crypto fascists, and the alt-right quite frequently. I am vocally in defense of a lot of the things that they oppose. Okay, anti-fascism being the primary thing, which is precisely why I have a lot of people who are waiting, sniping, like looking to snipe comments out of context in exactly the same fashion that they did last night, and take it up the chain of command as quickly as possible and escalate it into a situation where I have thousands of people very publicly talking about how they want to brutally torture me and execute me.
All right, guys, listen, okay? If you can clip me out of context, I would love to go like toe-to-toe like Mark Dice on this. I think you can make compelling arguments for like, wait, hold on. How spicy do I want to make this take? Hold on, let me think for a second because I don't want to get banned from Twitch. I think that like, because of the type of American foreign policy that America engages in, I think that you leave yourself open to a lot of crazy shit that it becomes very hard to complain about. I don't think that people, like, if I could talk to, fuck that, Mark Dice guys when I tweeted out, but if I could debate like a conservative on some topic like that, I don't think they could actually win that argument. I remember that. Remember when we had like the violence against conservative things? I think that arc lasted all of like 4 debates or whatever. When conservatives tried to come on and like debate that, and they fell apart like immediately, like every time. Like it was the easiest to defend taking the world. But yeah. Okay.
All right. Yeah.
Which is weird, but whatever.
I got you. So, look, to me, that's monumentally important that you misspoke and that you did not mean that. If you meant it, it would be a totally different conversation. Well, you pulled a video immediately showing, in my opinion, that you didn't mean it. Okay, but
by the way,
now,
that was like
now there's a whole series of lies saying that you support Al-Qaeda and terrorism. Look, this is really important because the point you're making.
I mean, technically, the America's kind of sort of supporting Al-Qaeda now, right? Like in Syria, or we were. I mean, a little bit, kind of. Wait, where's Yankee at? Weren't they working with the FSA? Am I crazy? Fuck, I don't remember.
Is Dan Crenshaw is voting yes to Saudi Arabia and funding them, and Saudi Arabia has funded a lot of that terrorism. I'm going to get to the comments you made about Crenshaw, which are also offensive and abhorrent.
Yeah.
But on that front, I'm not wrong in saying that that's the point they're making is the exact opposite of what you were actually saying.
Yeah. The question I would ask is this: if I am supposedly a fan of all of the terrorism that is ongoing around the world, or a fan of Al-Qaeda, as some other YouTubers who have a gigantic platform have put it, then why would I be upset at the government's decision to continue funding these groups? Or why would I have been upset originally at the government's decision to fund these groups? And then why would I be upset at the fact that we are still continuing to fund and supply arms to the Saudi Arabian kingdom, which then happen to find themselves in the hands of Al-Qaeda? this is all factually correct information. This is all well documented. Like the arms that we have sold to Saudi Arabia at this point, and they are the #1 country that buys the most arms from us, as Donald Trump put it, and as Reagan put it back in.
Okay, I guess since we're like not friends anymore or whatever, I can be like pretty honest. One of Hasan's big problems when he has these like debates is he's very bad at engaging the person that he's, or I say debates, conversations. He's usually like really bad at engaging the other person with what they're actually saying. Like one of the things I noticed when Hasan speaks is it feels like he has a lot of memorized like kind of lines that sound really good, and what he does is like when he gets into an argument with somebody, he tries to find how to work in these lines as much as possible. It kind of reminds me of in high school when you have to do like research, and they'll say like, oh, like you need to do where they're like, oh, you need to work in like 7 spot quotes into your paper. And then when you read like how the student actually applies the quotes, you can tell that they were just trying to like work these in any way possible. But yeah, I noticed that a lot that when it's on his conversations, especially like on the Raj Royale, it almost seems like he's trying to find a way so that he can slide. Remember Marco Rubio in the Republican debate when he short circuited? It feels like that. Like he's just trying to find a way to kind of slide into the old talking points that he has. Which sometimes works really well if he's hitting like a really strong rhetorical point that he's pretty familiar with and if it's relevant. But other times, like I think like in this interview, I don't think it works as well because it sounds like he's constantly trying to pivot away from what he said rather than defend it. Like it feels a lot like what about Obama? What about Bush? What about like that whataboutism? It only plays well in some circumstances. I don't think it plays well here.
In '86. When there was additional criticism against selling arms to Saudi Arabia, why would I criticize that if I'm in support of Al Qaeda?
They're also the #1 purveyor of terrorism, and that's why we fight against the Saudi government. Progressives do. All right. So now let's turn to the comments you made about Dan Crenshaw.
Yes.
So you.
Oh God.
I guess in an attempt at satire, made very crass comments about the eye that he lost in Afghanistan. So first of all, at least everyone is assuming it's satire, including Dan Crenshaw. I'll quote him in a second. Was it satire?
Yeah, I don't think that the Mujahideen are actually brave. That was simply a reference to John Rambo 3, first and foremost.
Wait, really? That's no way. You're gonna backpedal that hard? You wouldn't say that like I'll say that. That's not an edgy take at all. I think most of like the kind of like the resistance or freedom fighters or whatever, I'm sure ISIS has done some crazy fucking brave shit in fighting against like the Syrian army and the ISIS army and the Kurds.
Use the autofill to the left in the crafting table when crafting more than 7 redstone.
Okay. And I'm sure that the Mujahideen have had brave fighters. I'm sure that everybody involved in like that kind of like armed conflict has done like a lot of brave shit. That seems like a weird of all the things to backpedal from. But I mean, I guess if you're kind of like
foremost, very famous reference to John Rambo 3 that featured. This movie is dedicated to the brave Mujahideen soldiers of Afghanistan. And on top of that, it was a reference to the fact that Ronald Reagan also considered them to be brave when he was arming them. When he escalated the arms that were, when he increased the amount of funding and training and arms and Stinger missiles that we were giving to these groups that then branched off and became the Taliban and became Al Qaeda. So my point was, hey, we're doing the exact same things that we have done in the past over and over again. At what point will we go, you know what? Maybe we should stop meddling in the Middle Eastern affairs. Maybe we should stop funding insurgency groups that we consider to be allies to ourselves and then get surprised when they turn around and use those weapons against us.
Okay.
I'm all about stopping the bloodshed.
So I understand that, and I agree with that point.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I think that what you said was horribly counterproductive and offensive. We'll get to that in a second. I want to at least show you guys what some of the things that Crenshaw and Hasan said had on Twitter.
No.
So let's go to graphic 203 here. So, no, I'll get to Crenshaw in a second. 203, that's Reagan meeting with the Mujahideen. That's the reference that Hasan was making and put on Twitter. The 202 is the reference to the end of Rambo 3 or whatever. This film was dedicated to the brave Mujahideen fighters of Afghanistan. We did fund them. Yes, they were fighting the Soviet Union at the time. That's obviously important context, but,
Yeah.
but we did have blow.
You want to know some real sad shit? I don't know when I look at people who are critical of the U.S. funding the Mujahideen. You know, like, we're sad now because these people grow up and fucking 9/11 us or whatever. But I bet lefties are mad because we funded people that fought the Soviet Union. I was going to tweet that the other day, but I didn't feel like jumping in on that shit.
Back when they turned on us. Now, Dan Crenshaw, I actually thought was, actually took it really well. He went on Laura Ingram's program today and had a lot of things to say about Hasan and the Young Turks that I don't necessarily agree with, but he has acknowledged throughout that of course it was satire. Here's his tweet. He said, Hasan seems to confuse improvised explosive device with some sort of, with some weird terrorist fantasy. And of course he lost his eye in an IED explosion.
Not by getting fucked by a terrorist in the
Sorry
ankle.
for triggering you, Hasan. You're no Pete Davidson, stop trying so hard. He repeated that on the Laura Ingraham program today as well. And look, I think that I disagree with Dan Crenshaw's policies, but in regards to any,
didn't the U.S. fund Bin Laden initially to fight the USSR? So this is not true. This is a meme. I think I've even said this before, but apparently this is not true. Like, the USA funded the Mujahideen, which like later on led to groups being created that Bin Laden was later affiliated with. But it's not a fair characterization to say that the United States funded or trained Bin Laden directly or whatever. That's not a fair statement. That's not an accurate statement.
incredibly crass and offensive joke you made, he's handled it like a champ.
I agree. I think he took it like a champ. I would not have expected that, considering, like I said, the overwhelming amount of commentary that I've received so far on the issue is just very public displays of trying to kill me and fantasizing about murdering me or whatever, which is fine. It's a part of the job. I understand. Having said that, however, I have to make one note. Okay, service does not guarantee respect. It should not. I'm sorry. This is the exact same kind of jingo. This is the exact.
Okay, so I would be really careful here. So, in my opinion, I think that service always gets respect for your service. So if you're gonna tell me that like you went and you served somewhere or some bullshit and you lost like a fucking leg or whatever, I don't give a fuck about your political opinions. I don't give a fuck about, you know, whatever bullshit. But I mean, if you fucking served and you did that shit, yeah, I'll fucking respect that. Like, I'm not gonna sit there, especially me, I'm not gonna trash your like military shit. Now, if you start trying to use the fact that you're a vet to like win an argument or some shit, well, fuck you. But I think that if you overseas or some shit, you're purple hearted up and you got like fucked or whatever. Like, I mean, you gotta give a guy like respect for their fucking service, right? Now that doesn't mean you have to respect their political opinions or whatever. But I don't know, attacking somebody over like an injury sustained like overseas, it's probably not a good meme. Does that only extend to nice, Linus? Does that only extend to people that saw combat? No, I mean a service injury is a service injury, right? If you get injured in the service to your country or whatever, I think it's all, even non-combat. Come on, guys, I don't think that matters that much.
Exact same kind of sentiment that leads to the militant attitude that the United States has. If you have served, and then on top of that, are using that service to continue sending like loads of young men and women overseas to die or to come back home and fail to reintegrate into society just exclusively for the profits of the military-industrial complex, then no, you don't deserve respect by virtue of service. I'm sorry.
Well, Haas, there's a giant difference, right? So I don't agree with John McCain's, when he was alive, his warmongering, right? His policies were terrible, but I do respect that he stayed in that prisoner of war camp.
Oh, yeah, so this is basically my take, yeah.
When they said you can go because you're the son of an admiral, but he stayed with his fellow soldiers
We've
or
had
fellow
very public
troops.
disagreements on the way I've talked about John McCain as well.
Yeah, and so saying I disagree with Dan Crenshaw's policy is one thing, making that incredibly crass joke. I mean, how do you not see that it's counterproductive? Did you think that Americans would say, oh my God, that joke is so funny, or?
Counterproductive? That's when you hear that word as a lefty. What's the song? What's the Kill Bill song or whatever? Where the fuck, what am I thinking of? Does anybody know what song I'm thinking of? I'm pretty sure it's like a Quentin Tarantino song or whatever, right?
Like, can you not see how most Americans would say
The Sirens?
this
I don't know what the
horrible
fuck
thing
it's
about
called, but
his eye injury would be offensive, and then stop listening to you?
oh, the Klaxons. Wait, is that the song? Or no, that's just you're describing the sound. What's the name of the fucking Quentin Tarantino song? It comes from some older TV show. Oh yeah, this. Isn't it a bad look for us? Oh shit. Okay.
If I considered what the popular thing to say was going to be every time I said something, I probably wouldn't be advocating for the things I believe in. The final note I will say is this, okay?
You've got 5 minutes to respond.
I would rather be uncivil and advocate for the morally righteous cause, which is anti-war and anti-imperialism, bringing our troops back home, ending the unjustifiable and unnecessary bloodshed, than be incredibly polite.
We should respect murderers who sustain injuries in their conquest to murder. If you equate like the average like soldier or whatever to a murderer, I don't know what I mean, you're too far gone for me to talk to you. ACAB brother, and ASAB, I guess.
And incredibly civil, and talk about ongoing genocide and refuse to acknowledge it, and even worse than that, vote in favor of the government, in favor of the country that is continuing that genocide with our weapons. You can be as civil as you want.
Yeah, if you had said that on the TYT network, I would have pulled that video. I think it's offensive, it's over the top, and I understand you were trying to do satire, but I thought it was a terrible job at that, and I get why people are offended by it. So look, what we do here at the Young Turks is unlike any other network. We have wild, significant disagreements, and I know that that bothers people, and so I have aired our disagreements on the issue of Russia and almost every topic that you can imagine. So Hasan and I disagree about that satire, to say the least. But what I don't want is people walking away thinking that he actually meant the misstatement on 9/11, and he did pull the video. To me, that's huge evidence that he realized right away that it was wrong. And look, this is talk shows are a fascinating and hard situation. They're not like a blue collar job. They're not hard in that sense. But that's why in the past I've said NBC shouldn't fire Megyn Kelly, etc. Because when you on your Twitch channel, you talk for what, like 4-6 hours in a row.
That was from a 6-hour broadcast that they clipped 14 seconds from.
6 hours.
And if they only had clipped 60 seconds instead of the 14 seconds, they would understand exactly what I was referencing and exactly what I meant.
It still would be wrong.
Look, the words I used were not the best words. I understand that. Like I said over and over again, I get that. It's not good words. The joke stuff we can have a disagreement on. Yeah, we obviously have a disagreement on the style. But ultimately, my points have always been throughout my professional career and in my personal life, and still to this day, the exact same. Obviously, 9/11 was a horrific tragedy. 3,000 Americans died, okay? 7,000 troops have died since then in endless wars. And if you're spending all of your energy getting upset at me because I think that is abhorrent and awful, maybe you should spend your energy elsewhere and realize that those who justify that endless bloodshed don't actually have the best interest of those young men and women at heart.
All right, I want to make a
Does
correction.
your take on the respect the troops situation apply only to troops fighting for our side, or do you apply that to all soldiers? To be extreme, should we by default respect people wounded in combat fighting for the Nazis?
Yeah, I mean, I would say so. But I mean, like, I understand that I don't. Wait, real quick. What do I push to automatically? I skipped that one donation. Hold on. Use the autofill to the left in the crafting table and crafting more than 7 redstone blocks. Where the fuck is autofill? Or is this dumb fuck speaking about a mod? Or do I do shift left click like that? Okay, fuck you. Wait, why doesn't this show coal blocks? Oh, weird. I'm not a big fan of saying that like individual Nazi soldiers were evil, or that like I don't know. I think it does like a disservice to understanding like the psychology of like how people end up in that position to pretend that like some groups of people like somehow like the entire German like armed forces, just all those people like were just evil people. I think it does a disservice to understand like how these types of ideologies form and where these people come from. And I think that if you view it that way, then you're missing a lot of what could potentially happen in the future. But we did that at Nuremberg though? Yeah, fuck Nuremberg. I don't care. Oh, actually, wait a second. Did we do that at Nuremberg? I thought at Nuremberg, didn't we hold, weren't the leaders held, the leaders of the camps and the leaders of the people held more responsible than the actual people running them? All I remember, I could be wrong. All I remember from Nuremberg is like the actual like leaders that are. What is evil then, if not certain ideologies? That's the beauty of it. There is no such thing as evil, my dude. Evil and good are just two categories that people create because it makes them feel more comfortable in their world when they can categorize people they disagree with or people that do things that they conceive as horrible as evil people. That's the reality of it, mate.
Representative Crenshaw was not on Laura Ingram's program. He was apparently on the Daily Caller.
Oh, great.
So, no, it doesn't matter. Either way, look, it didn't happen on our air, but again, I think it was wrong. And if Representative Crenshaw wants to come on here, we would be very, very happy to.
I would love to ask him the question. I would love to have a conversation with Representative Crenshaw. And because people keep saying that I'm afraid to like address him in person or something. I'm not. I would love for the opportunity to be able to have a face-to-face conversation with Representative Dan Crenshaw and ask him directly to his face why he thinks it's okay for the United States to keep selling arms to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and then have those arms turn around and get transferred over to the hands of the Al-Qaeda.
The last thing is, guys, no matter where you are on the political spectrum, it's okay to disagree. I think we've got to keep it within bounds, and so any comments about Dan Crenshaw's injury, I think, is out of bounds, and I think his service was great. It doesn't mean he's right about policy, but we got to give people their credit. And he risked his life and he lost his eye, and for that, I think obviously the country owes anybody who served a debt of gratitude. The TYT Plus app is now available on iOS and Android. Download to get more TYT content.
Damn. You can recognize that about Nazis and still not respect them, no? I mean, I guess maybe it comes into like a like a semantics debate or whatever. That contradicts what you said about America deserving 9/11. If Nazi soldiers aren't held responsible for their ideology, then why are American civilians? I'm not saying that people don't deserve to be held responsible. I'm just saying that it doesn't really make sense to. I don't like the idea of calling people evil. I think that I don't think people work that way. I don't think people. Well, I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't think that people are like born evil, and like that just happens to some people. Like, I'm pretty sure that there are a set of environmental conditions that will produce predictably like certain types of people always. And I think it's good to be aware of that. That if you sexually abuse a child, leave them in a fucked up household, have them get abused and bullied the whole life, probably a way fucking higher chance that a person like that grows up and becomes like a fucking serial killer. In fact, isn't that actually even pretty common? And like a lot of like the crazy serial killer things, like John Wayne, Gracie, fuck. Like in all these fucking serial killers, like usually some really fucked up shit happened, like in their past, and it's like. Now, not to say that like that excuses the behavior. I still think would hold people responsible. That makes you feel better, whatever dumb shit that means, right? But like, I think it's worth like understanding. Well, why do people do the things they do? And to just write it off and be like, oh, well, some people are evil, lol. It's like, no. Ironically enough, there is actually a really good boy. Here's the full Dave Rubin arc. There's actually a pretty good. I was really surprised when I saw this. There's a really good Jordan Peterson video on this, where I don't remember what we watched, But it was basically like, did it have to do with the Nazi soldiers or something? Or was it some serial killer or whatever? Where he basically starts off where he was given some case to review, or he was looking over some case, and he saw that it was obviously like a really horrible person. And his first thought was like, oh, well, this guy's really horrible. But then his next thought was like, well, what would it take for me to do this? And that's always a really good question to ask yourself, right? Like, what would it take to push somebody to a certain level? I don't think it would take much. But like you see people write people off as evil all the time. Like look at these horrible, evil, like illegal immigrants that break the rules and they come to America and they don't respect our laws. And it's like, okay, sure. But like if your family was starving or at risk of death, like, well, what would you do, right? I would do a lot more than fucking crossing a fucking border. If I thought that like my son's life was in danger or like my family's life was in danger, like no, I would do way more than that, like without even fucking thinking about it, you know? Does that make me evil? I don't know, but... Well, I don't know. I don't think so. Everybody says that they don't like climate change and blah, blah, blah. But when you actually poll people on what they'd be willing to do about it, the fucking support for that shit drops to fucking nothing. It's insane.